absolutely loved playing Marvel Rivals. Obviously, in the end, I think it was just the toxicity of your actual teammates towards me that just sent me over the edge. Like, I would end every stream in just the worst mood. I don't know. Yeah, the community was just awful, bro. Or like, there's just so many idiots in the community, man. I can't stand it.
Ninja just announced that he quit Marvel Rivals a few days ago, and honestly, I do not even blame him. And he's not the only one either. My comments are flooded. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube with people saying, I quit this game, it's way too toxic. But the community isn't the only reason people are quitting this game. There are many other reasons. A few days ago, Marvel Rivals Updates posted this on Twitter. Marvel Rivals player count keeps declining despite new content. And this just links to an article going over the average players per month since December 2024. And it obviously has gone down, but I want to look at the reasons why, and the reasons why aren't just because the community is toxic. So I'm going to break down every single one of these reasons and give you my opinion on it, because yapping is my favorite thing to do. The first reason I'm going to go over is the matchmaking. I see a lot of people saying they're quitting because of the matchmaking, they get horrible teammates, etc. And this is all valid, because if you didn't know this, Marvel Rivals uses something called engagement-based matchmaking. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this term, I'm going to break it down for you in very simple terms. All of your games are rigged. The matchmaking system in Marvel Rivals purposely puts horrible teammates on your team to make you lose, or really good teammates on your team to make you win. Instead of just taking your raw skill and putting you on a team you're supposed to be on based off of your skill, it instead uses your human neurotransmitter to either give or take away dopamine, which in turn creates this toxic relationship with the game, and no matter how many times you lose, you still want to play because you get a huge boost of dopamine when you win. So when you're frustrated because you're getting bad teammates on your team, this is actually part of the matchmaking system. Isn't that just awesome? No, obviously it's not. I personally don't think that any competitive game should do this. There are some other games that do this, but I think it fails ultimately. So don't worry, you're not crazy. You do definitely get bad teammates on your team, and it's just part of the matchmaking system. The next reason I see a lot of people saying they're quitting because of is due to the meta. During the time I'm making this video, the meta in Marvel Rivals is flying characters, and previously the meta was dive characters, and then support meta before that, and this seems to be frustrating a lot of people. When there are such strong metas in a game, you can't even play who you'd like to play, because if you don't play the meta characters, you're not winning the game. And in turn, the people who were maining these characters before they got buffed and before they were meta can't even play their main either, because it's always going to get banned. And in turn, it creates very boring games. If these meta characters get through, you're probably going to get rolled, and if you are getting rolled, you have to switch to a counter even if you don't want to play that counter. And I think a lot of players are having a problem with this. The next thing I want to talk about is the community and how toxic it is, because this seemed like the main reason Ninja was quitting, along with a lot of other people. And if you've ever seen my short form videos, I make a lot of videos about the community of Marvel Rivals and how toxic they are. I show what they said in the game, and I just show how toxic they are, and I just find it funny. But this happens to other people who aren't content creators, which they can't make content out of it, so it's just miserable for them. And if you haven't seen my short form videos, I'm just gonna give you a few examples now.
Oh, dude, our other support's a female. Yeah, you're not gonna gain anything from arguing with us.
Yeah. We can be racist, but we're not sexist, bro. Come on, bro.
Cloak, do you want to go in with your ult?
No, the ult is defensive, you dumb.
I'm a executive director of marketing. I make $255,000 a year.
These are just a few examples, and I genuinely wish I were kidding about this, but no, there's like so many more. Not to mention, almost every other game I have someone throwing on my team, or I have someone leaving. It just feels really impossible to solo queue and also play this game competitively when the community is like that. This game requires so much communication, so much coordination, and truthfully, it just doesn't work when you have teammates that are like this every other game, especially because these people are rarely punished for their actions, and you still lose the same amount of points if someone leaves. And with Overwatch introducing their new stadium mode, along with actually punishing people who do horrible things in the game, I see a lot of people switching back to their original games that they came from because they thought Marvel Rivals would be better, but they were sadly disappointed. But with all of this being said and addressing issues, nothing is going to change if you don't offer solutions to these problems. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna offer some solutions to these problems, and I really want to know what you guys think in the comments below, so let me know if you guys agree with these solutions or not. I'm just gonna address these problems in the same way that I said them. So the first problem would be the matchmaking. At least in ranked, I do not think that there should be any type of engagement-based matchmaking in a competitive game. I think if they took that out specifically for ranked and just focused on making the matchmaking better in general, a lot more people would be having fun playing the game again. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but I do think it's possible, and I do think that it needs to happen. The next point I made was about how the meta is definitely way too strong. There are multiple different ways on how to fix this, so I'm just gonna go through a few of them. The first way is when they're putting a bunch of new and different different team ups that are very strong into the game, they need to buff all of these other counters to them. The problem with this flying meta is that there's not many characters able to counter it anyway, and those characters usually get banned in the game if the other team is playing flying characters. So every time they buff characters to try to create a new meta and give new team ups, they need to do the same for a hard counter and buff a hard counter so this doesn't happen anymore. I said the same thing last season when people were talking about how broken dive characters were. If supports just had a counter team up between two supports, then that would have literally solved every single dive problem. Instead, they just nerfed dive characters, which obviously made a lot of DPS mains upset. And the last point I talked about was the community, which I do have a lot to say about. Here are my credentials. I've played Siege, Rust, COD, basically every single game that you could ever think of that is toxic. And somehow, for some reason, Marvel Rivals still comes out on top as the most toxic game I've ever played, which doesn't make sense, but I do think that there's a lot of different reasons for this. In other games, there's much harsher punishments than Marvel Rivals. You get comm banned, you get banned from the game, you get punished if you team kill in Siege. And I just don't see that happening a lot in Marvel Rivals, if I'm being so honest. I've had toxic people get on my team after I reported them and other people have also reported them a week later. This should not be happening. There needs to be harsher punishments for people who are toxic, and I do think that's a very good place to start. Also, when people leave your game, because of how often it happens, I genuinely do not think that you should lose points if someone leaves your game. With how often it happens in this game, I truthfully believe that there needs to be harsher punishments for people who leave ranked games. At this point, it's a 50-50. You either get someone on your team who leaves the game or you don't. I also want to address, people are saying, oh, well, it's a competitive game, it's a video game, if you can't take it, leave. I personally do not think that that is an excuse for people to be toxic. Of course, toxicity happens in every single online competitive game, but in order to have a community, you need to have people that care about each other. You need to have positivity in a community. And no matter who you are, you'd probably prefer someone being nice to you than someone being mean to you. And if you'd prefer someone being mean to you, you probably need to go to therapy, if I'm being honest. A community relies on positivity and kindness and relatability, and without that, no one's gonna play and no one's gonna enjoy the game and everyone's gonna quit, like what's happening right now. And now I want to add my own opinion. Do I think the game is dying? Do I think that everyone's gonna quit Marvel Rivals? Yada yada yada. And the short answer is no. This game is not going anywhere. A lot of people enjoy it. A lot of people still play it. What we're seeing right now is the original hype die down. We're not seeing any more sponsored streams telling people to play Marvel Rivals. We're not seeing the biggest streamers jump on the bandwagon of the new game. Now we're seeing how many average players are actually going to be on this game after the hype has died down. Toxic teammates aren't going to kill this game. The community isn't going to kill this game. And honestly, for me, if people are toxic and people say some outrageous thing in the game, I can just make a video about it. So I'm completely fine with it. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think. Are you still playing Marvel Rivals even with the toxicity, even with the matchmaking? Have you moved on to another game? Have you gone back to the game you came from? I'm genuinely curious to know your guys' opinion on all this and what you think of everything I said. With that being said, I'm not quitting this game. You're still going to be getting plenty of Marvel Rivals content from me. This entire video was honestly just an excuse for me to yap because you guys know I love yapping. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!